Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Dominick D'Anna. I'm a network practitioner. And today we're going to do what I call touch and tell. And what touch and tell is in network care is I gently feel top to bottom of Carolyn's body. And what I know as a practitioner is that whatever's going on with your body is a reflection of what's going on in your life. And if someone wants to change their emotions, they want to change their life, they want to change their behavior, they want to change how they feel, you have to change your body because the body's the source of all emotion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently feel Carolyn's spine from the base of her skull all the way down through her spine and her body. And I'm going to share with you what shows up because in network care, we know that if there's tension in an area, how that plays out in your perspective and your behavior. So let's start with the top and work our way down. So I'm going to gently feel, chin in just a little bit more if you would, Carolyn, great. And I'm just gently touching here the top vertebra called atlas. And as I feel this top vertebra with atlas, I can feel that it's clearly a lot of muscle tension around it, which means there's emotional tension because your muscular system and your emotional system are the same. So there's a little bit of there's muscle tension around there. And structurally, that vertebra is shifted up and over to the right. So that's Carolyn's reality filter, right? If your body is your reality filter, then that would tell me that what's going on with Carolyn. And what that typically correlates to is the top vertebra has a lot to do with time and money as an issue. And when that top vertebra rotates to the right, what I've seen with clients consistently over the years is they always seem to say that they feel overwhelmed. They feel like there's too much to do and not enough support. And we've had a lot of psychotherapists that have been under network care in our office. And they shared with me once, they said, Dominick, when someone says that it feels like life is too much and there's not enough support, always make that about the person. So what would that mean about the person? And what came to me was, I'm not enough if I have that perspective. And they said, bingo, that's what that typically correlates with. So this top vertebra being twisted over and to the right means that Carolyn's self-talk is that I'm not enough. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy of another person's love. So that obviously is going to interfere with what she settles for in life. When this top vertebra is twisted to the right, it tends to pull mid and lower neck with it, which it is. I get to the mid neck area, and that area corresponds to trust in relation to people. There's definitely a lot of muscle tension there. So again, muscle tension is your emotional system, so that means that there was some kind of wound there that hasn't been dealt with. And then as I get a little bit lower into the sixth vertebra, that area tends to correspond to the emotion of nervousness, or it affects your intestines, mobility specifically, either constipation or irritable bowel, digestive issues. And as a practitioner, I don't know if it's going to get played out through the emotion or the organ system. It can go either way. So I'm going to say Carolyn probably has a challenge with nervousness, or she has some intestinal challenges. It's one or the other. As I work my way down through this lower neck area, this area corresponds to anxiety or even panic attacks. That area has a little bit of rigidity, but not much muscle tension around it. So again, muscle tension means emotional tension, right? The structural rigidity has a different. The more structural rigidity, the more the person has a need for safety and constancy. There's also muscle tension as we get through the mid-spine going into the lower back. So that tells me that, and oftentimes the mid and low back is a mirror of what the neck is doing. So it makes sense if there's muscle tension through her neck, there's going to be some muscle tension through the mid and lower part of the spine. So those of you who follow Corey's stuff where we have the consciousness exercises, different patterns of presentation correspond to a different consciousness challenge, let's say. So muscle tension, is stage 2 and stage 3. So Carolyn has a need for that, and stage 1 as well. The structural rigidity has a lot more to do with stage 6 and stage 7 consciousness. So typically when someone comes in and I feel their structure and it's very stiff and rigid, and if I push on it, there's a lot of resistance. So that typically means the person has a challenge with follow-through and finishing endeavors in life. I remember watching a golf tournament where the golfer was just ahead of everybody by several strokes. And he got to the last 2 or 3 holes, and the guy could not get the ball in the hole to finish, so he ended up not winning, even though he was way ahead. That's classic stage 6 and stage 7 consciousness challenge. Carolyn has a little bit of that. It's not huge, but there's definitely a little bit of that can be fine-tuned a bit. So there you have it. That's as a practitioner, not knowing anything about what's going on with Carolyn in her life, but I can tell you what I'm feeling as a practitioner, and that typically correlates pretty spot on. So again, how would that play out in someone's life? If someone has a pattern of I'm not enough, typically they're going to settle. They're going to settle for career. They're going to settle in relationship, as compared to saying this is what I want, this is what I deserve, and this is what I demand. So they tend to lower their standards, people that have that top vertebra twisted over to the right. So what would I like to see different? As I work with Carolyn to get this area more open and drop the muscle tension around it, she's less hijacked by that pattern of perception and behavior. As we get the structure to unwind, it's literally like changing the dial on a radio. We're literally helping her shift to a different frequency of information so that she views the world differently. And it makes sense, if you see something differently, you're likely to show up different. Your behavior is going to be different. As we work our way down through her mid and lower neck and get to the trust area and create more peace and ease there, then what Carolyn's going to find is her feeling supported in life and her feeling safe to connect with other people and rely on other people isn't going to be such an issue. The nervousness, that's never fun. So the more I get the muscle tension around that to drop out and get her structure to shift out of that perception and behavior, life is a whole lot more fun. And then we'll also see the mid and lower part of the spine drop tension as a reflection of getting her neck squared away, because again, the neck controls the function of the mid and lower back. So what we're going to do from here, is we took an x-ray already, an A to P and lateral, which is a front view and a side view of Carolyn's spine, because that was warranted with what showed up. So now I'm going to share with you the consistency between what shows up with her x-ray and how that plays out in Carolyn's life. So literally your structure is your reality filter. And let's go take a look at that. Let's have some fun with it. Hi everybody, we're going to talk about Carolyn and what showed up with her reality filter, because I find this fascinating. And you know, we look at x-ray, you think of x-ray, you said, oh, it's just about bones. But if your structure truly is your reality filter, right, how we prejudge reality, the meaning we give to events that happen, then we should see consistency with that, and we absolutely do. So this one is more of a normal or ideal x-ray. Not to say that it's perfect, but it's more of an ideal one, where this top vertebra has a nice steep angle. You see this nice, perfect, what's called a lordotic curve. In the industry, we call it the arc of life, because that's when the spinal cord is relaxed, that's when the structure is seated properly. This is ideal, and the person's not presuming anything about reality, they're just observing it. When we get to something that's a little bit different, this speaks volumes. So when this top vertebra is closer to the 32-degree mark, that's consistent with the person being at a peaceful place. And I call this area the fear button, or the fear gear, like gears on a car, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. For every degree this top vertebra flattens out, the person is tuning more and more into the state of fear. So as we look to this one, nice steep angle, and then we look at Carolyn's, this top vertebra you can see is almost perfectly flat. What this tells me, if I'd never seen Carolyn, but someone showed me this film, I would say this person is in a state of fear 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not whether or not they're in it, they're always in it, either severe or significantly, constantly. So their state of being is fear, and anticipation is a normal state for them, and they don't even know anything different. So that, obviously, you have to be in fear before you're going to have what goes along with the nervousness and anxiety, which is the lower part of the neck, which Carolyn shared with me previous, and that's exactly what her film shows the same. And as you can see, just taking a look generally, this area has a nice curve, right? This film does. When we get to Carolyn's film, this is actually pulled backwards or posterior. What that tells me is there's a tremendous amount of tension in her system, because it takes a tremendous amount of tension to do that and hold this. And you can see from the back part of the vertebra here where the disc would be, this area is already thinned out, which tells me Carolyn's been like this for a long time. This isn't new. And she likely patterned this pattern after her parents or whoever her caretakers were. The third vertebra here is pretty consistent with people that have knee issues, chronic knee pain, knee injuries. That's physically. Also, the third vertebra shows up as migraines. People that have that kind of challenge, it's common. It doesn't mean that everyone who has this has migraines, but I can tell you everybody who has migraines has this. And when this is changed significantly, migraines go with it. The fourth vertebra has a lot to do with the emotion of rage, where they take it, and then they blow up. They go postal. That's the consciousness of the fourth vertebra. Also consistent with people that have a challenge with that fourth vertebra and its positioning, where it's pushed posterior like that. They come into the office consistently and they have issues with their iliotibial band, hamstrings, hip socket, inguinal area is common physically. And again, somebody can come in with this and not have any rage issues, but have issues with their hip flexors, or it can go the other way. It could all be expressed emotionally. So I would say that Carolyn either has issues with her hip flexors or definitely will in time, or again, it's played out emotionally. And if it's played out emotionally, it's either rage or she doesn't express it as rage. Instead, she takes that energy and emotion and internalizes it. And what's rage internalized? It's depression. So she's predisposed to either having rage issues or issues with significant depression. So as we work with this, to first get breath and movement through there, that's an objective of network care, help her reconnect to that through the body connection or the consciousness exercises, specifically in this area, so that she could experience whatever energy, whatever trauma she's storing in that area, because anything you feel fully loses its grip on you. And then with time and repetition, we can retrain the tendons, ligaments, muscles in this area so that she has more and more availability to a different reality, a different experience in life. Your structure is your reality filter. You change the structure, you can literally change the person's life. The emotions that are available, their default patterns. We get to lower neck in here, as I mentioned, that's the nervousness area. The fifth vertebra is what I felt or palpated when Carolyn was sitting at the table. And you can see significant misalignment here. And that area has a lot to do with trust in relation to people. And when this area twists significantly and there's a significant amount of muscle tension around it, extreme lack of trust in relation to people is also called paranoia. So again, this is not a fun reality. Change to fear, and fear feeds the rest of these. So we'll work with this first with Carolyn, and then we're going to work our way down to these other areas as they show up. And something that I'd like to see as Carolyn progresses through network care is I want to see that her overall tension is lower. I want to see that she's saying that she's less concerned or fearful. Her trust in relation to other people is becoming less and less of an issue. And the nervousness gets less and less and less as we get her reality filter to change progressively. And then what would be great to do is over time is to take a post x-ray after she's received enough care and see how her structure has changed. And it will. So Carolyn, after hearing me go through your x-ray and my perspective of the structural distortion you have on your x-ray and how that corresponds to the person's emotions, how they see it, and when it makes sense, if you see it a certain way, your behavior is going to be a certain way, and the challenges that you're predisposed to emotionally, perspective-wise, how much of what I said was accurate?
Most of it was pretty accurate, especially the paranoia. I am constantly on my toes, like I said earlier. Like I'm always worried about disappointing someone or not being perfect. So I feel like I'm constantly on edge every day. And it's so exhausting, like so exhausting. Sometimes I don't even want to get up and do anything because I'm like, if I don't do anything, then I don't have to worry about anything.
So fear and worry.
Worry, yeah. Paranoid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense because you have to have the fear before you can have the paranoid. or the lack of trust is a nicer way to say it. Extreme, let's just say extreme lack of trust in relation to other people. But the reality, let's just call it what it is, right? It's a little bit of paranoia. It's fear and how you're going to be received. So we're going to see this change and like to see that freed up and see what you notice different. So anything else that I shared or anything else that you want to comment on?
The hip thing is accurate as well. Like the what's it called here?
The hip flexors,
The hip
iliotibial
flexors.
band,
Yeah.
side of the leg. Yeah.
Yeah, I do have pain there sometimes. Like it depends. Like when I'm working out and I do squats and stuff, sometimes I can feel like it doesn't really flex as well. Like I feel like there's tension there, so that's accurate as well.
Super. Oh, and by the way, for those tuning in, Carolyn did not share with me the paranoia type stuff previously, nor the hip flexor stuff. So just to share with you, what shows up with your X-ray is spot on with being consistent with your emotions, perception, the reality you're tuning into, and the health challenges you're likely to have. And as we work to free this up, the stuck energy in those areas, help you experience them so you can resolve them, it's going to be amazing to see how you transform, not only emotionally in your perspective, but also the organ systems that are paying the price for that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because dealing with constant like overthinking and worrying, it's exhausting. So if that could be smoothed out and, calmed down, I would love that.
Well, right on. Your issues are your tissues.
Yeah.
So let's go get it.
Yep. Let's do it.